All right. Okay, everyone, we're live. Thank you for joining us today. I got one of my friends here, friends and colleagues, one of the smartest guys I know in real estate, and he's 30 years old. So I call him the Doogie Howser of real estate just because of the things that he's been doing. Jon Reusch is here with us. He is former team leader of Keller Williams Lakeside in Michigan, and now he is OP of that same market center. We're going to talk to Jon today about how he grew his market center to, you're going to be at around 400 agents by the end of the year in what, like 3 years, 4 years, something in such a short period of time. So we're going to talk about the strategies, the culture, and the techniques that Jon and his team use for recruiting, retention, and value and culture. So thanks for being here, Jon.
Thank you for having me. I'm really thrilled to be here, super excited. And if I can add value or pour into anybody at any level, then I've done my job today. So thanks for the opportunity.
No problem. It is your first time live in LabCoatAgents, which I'm going to have to talk to somebody about why that's the case. Wait, I'll talk to myself. But why don't we tell people who you are? Because you don't have a real estate background, yet you just told me that your market center just sold how many homes? 1,200 homes in the last...
1,300 homes in the last 120 days.
And the way that you're coaching and not having a real estate background is pretty incredible. So I just want to learn a little bit about, where you came from.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Nick. So basically the quick version on who Jon is, right?
Right.
I went to Central Michigan University, center of the mitten, fire up or transfer is what we say at CMU. I actually went there twice over. So I got my master's degree in educational leadership. Always thought I was going to be tracking to be an influencer and leader in education. I'm still an influencer in leadership and education. It's just not in the education industry, right? So there's a difference. So by the time I was 25, I was academically published. I had worked abroad and studied abroad in Spain. Had a lot of different eclectic experiences that sort of led me to this feeling of I could do more. I felt like I was growing complacent already in my mid-20s. And I don't know, at that point in my career, I was like wanting to push it and go. So I started looking up corporate training jobs. I'm big into like public speaking, training, workshops, things of that nature. By the time I was in my early 20s, I had worked with over 10,000 youth in college access and lower socioeconomic status, helping them move from this idea of renting's the norm to a mortgage is doable. And this idea of education is a punishment to it's the key that unlocks every opportunity. So by the time I was in my mid-20s, I started looking around to other opportunity and truth be told, fell in love with the culture of Keller Williams. The culture of collaborating yet competing, the culture of multiple streams of income and multiple streams of opportunity. The technology and the training was just something I hadn't ever really seen before in real estate. And so I made the jump into real estate, and shout out to the leadership team at Lakeside for taking the chance on this 26-year-old kid at the time with zero real estate experience. And I think that's the first key, Nick, is the team at Lakeside so diverse with over 100 years of real estate experience. What it was missing was some new thinking, some fresh ideas that could come in and sort of run. And that's what we did from 2016 to 2020. We've more than doubled our market share. We're closing over 3,000 units a year. Our agent count went from 215 agents to we'll be at 400 by the end of this year. It's all about attracting the right people and the balance of our team using and playing to each other's strengths. So that's where I'm at kind of today, and my background from higher education into real estate. So if you're looking for talented folks to run your offices, if you have real estate experience on your team, folks in higher ed or academia, they usually have a servant leadership background. They have a discipline, they have a work ethic, they have structure, and they're learning based. And so I know at Keller Williams, that's what we look for. And so I think that could apply to any manager type role or leadership type role in real estate.
So, I mean, this goes with, basically any company that you would have to join, having not been with the company before, having not had a real estate background, and every company has a model. And so, being that I was a team leader for a while, and I was with Keller Williams specifically, I knew the model, right? But no matter what company you join, there's all specific model. And you came in without a background, without really any knowledge of, at this point, you're going to get the job. And so, a little bit more about it. But I know how hard it is to be a team leader and then coaching and consulting your current agents and then recruiting other agents to that model. How did you dive in and just learn it so quickly? Because it's very complicated. So how would somebody who is attempting to get this type of position wherever they are just absorb it all and just master it? What did you do to get that done?
Yeah, so there's a lot to that, right? The first thing I'll just start off by saying is, in anything, success is sequential, not sudden. I think in the day and age of which we can view something on Google and it's on our Instagram ad feed the next hour, and it can be in our front porch 2 days later because of Prime delivery, right?
Yeah.
I think we need to understand that there's certain things in life to this day that true success is going to sequentially build. I'm a big fan of vertical stacking. And what I mean by vertical stacking is, if I have an experience, can I stack different experiences on top of that? So maybe my turnaround time to learn something else doesn't take as long because I have transferable skills from these other opportunities. So I just wanted to point out by saying that. I think the first thing is identify who you're choosing to be in business with. This is said so many times, whether you hear it from Gary Keller or other business leaders across the industry, who you are in business with matters more than anything. You got to have a group of folks that respects you, respects each other, that is learning based and won't take criticism in a negative way, because it's the understanding that it's solution based, right? The goal is that we all achieve and work together. And I found that at Lakeside. I really did. So when I stepped into the role, Nick, I was the 4th team leader in 3 years.
Oh.
And some people go, wow, how did you do it then? Right. And I turn it right around and say, how did my assistant team leader, Sandy, how did my current OP, Dave, Doug, my broker, Al, my tech specialist, right down the line of this team, how did they do it? Could you imagine 4 straight years of a changeover in leadership of your office? So it was a lot of listening in year one. And again, this comes back to patience. It's this idea that, okay, I'm 30. It's a great headline. People like to talk about it. But what it really boils down to is experience is the best teacher. It doesn't have to be your own. And unfortunately, experience is sometimes what we can't afford, because we make the mistakes and we don't learn from it, and then it costs us too much, right? I did a lot of listening. If you were in my shoes, what would you do and why? What's one thing that frustrates you greatly or at a high level? What's taking up most of your time in your everyday, right? And so I would ask these questions to staff and my leadership team. And then same thing with agents. Agents, what's the single largest issue in your business? What's your plan to solve that between now and the end of the year? Who's helping you do that, right? Would it make sense for us to put a plan together to solve that? So I just started by asking a lot of questions. I read MREA, I read The One Thing, but I also read other business books, other books that focused on relationship building and maximizing the time that you have. The 12-week year is a great book. Another book is called Grit, this idea of stick-to-itiveness, right? And having the mental wherewithal to succeed. So I just focused and I leaned into, if there's models and systems, I can't be the first young entrepreneur that wanted to succeed. Why don't I go after folks who have done it before me and pick their brain? I just did that, and I still do it to this day. I try and take one person out to coffee or lunch every week and just pick their brain on what I could be doing differently. Does that answer what you were?
Yeah, that makes total sense. And I was just thinking, like, you mentioned something that I don't feel enough agents do, right? You said, you spend a lot of time just listening, right? And so when agents just get out of real estate school, they just want to jump in, right? And of course you do, because you want to make money. the one thing that we fail to do is we fail to like find a mentor or follow someone around or pick the brains of people that are experienced in our office. We just go out there and, you know, we find ourselves not knowing what to do. And we don't take that opportunity to really just kind of gather all this information. So when we do meet with our first client, even though we're still kind of wet behind the ears, we maybe don't seem as much like we are, right? So that's one of the things I see agents doing wrong. Like start listening to people in your office and start taking notes and so on and so forth. So I really appreciate that. So let's talk about first thing, retention. I always feel like retention is such a big, and in some ways, I feel like it's even more important than growing your office, because what's the point in just collecting warm bodies, right? So how can we be better at keeping our office a revolving door? Because you do see a lot of offices all across the board as revolving doors. Like, yeah, they maintain a great, like, you know, 200 agent count. And you see all these agents coming in and the same going out. So when someone joins you, how do you and your leadership team get together to make sure that that person is always taken care of and doesn't ever want to leave you? I know that's a big question, but.
Yeah, that's great. I think you can choke it down in a couple spots. So the first would be attrition's a natural part of our business. Okay.
For sure.
It just is. You know, people, they get married, they get divorced, they are born, they die. And so whether it's selling and buying homes or realtors joining your brokerage, attrition is natural. What I would encourage people to think about is look at your last year to 2 years of attrition and ask yourself, how can you improve that by 5% for 2021? Start somewhere, right? And then slowly and incrementally improve upon that number. But beyond that, I mean, Nick, remember when we reached out to you as the Lakeside team earlier this year and we had you do a short video around some of the technology that agents at Keller Williams would experience and sort of you encourage them, lean into that. And, you know, and you did that as part of our regional team. And I'm so appreciative of that. But anyways, that's one of the things we've done at Lakeside is you can literally at Lakeside, you get a steps to success. If you do these things with the board, with your orientations, with your MLS, and then here locally at Lakeside, including command and the technology, right? But the PC orientation, the tech orientation, the broker orientation, MCA, we have them all streamlined and they're offered twice a month, once during the day, once in the evening. They are virtually offered as well. And so if you complete those things in the first month, and then we have a core list of classes, listing paperwork, buyer paperwork, launching an open house, floor time calls, online lead generation, right? And then lastly, at Keller Williams, you'll be familiar with the term Ignite, and then complete Ignite within that first 6 months. We have them time-stamped. We have an internal audit. We run it all through our CRM at Keller Williams. We know exactly where everyone is. We have them tagged in our system. So they're getting dripped on, even if we aren't proactively reaching out. It's a part of our follow-up and touch. Hey, we noticed by now you should have completed X. If you haven't, reach out to this person. So there's call to action. So we want to make sure that at the end of the day, we made a commitment that you can come aboard at Keller Williams Lakeside and you can grow and sell real estate here. And if we have done our part and we've plugged in each and every system and class, we've shown you how to do it. You have a mentor, you have a coach, you know the technology. At the end of the day, I can lead you to water. I can't make you drink, right? So at a certain point, if you're leaving Lakeside, it's typically because of something the agent hasn't done. Okay. And so I'm pretty proud to lay my hand on that. Like we fight tooth and nail to make sure that everything we do at this company is for the agent, because our agents come first. And when they win, we all win. Another thing that we do is we have a care call system. And so every member on this team each week is given a list of 10 names they must contact over the next 7 days. And if that leadership member doesn't do that, they have to donate to KW Cares.
Is there an amount? Is there a certain amount?
$50 per week. You don't do it. So it can be up to $200 a month. So, you know, I mean, it's like KW Cares because you don't, right? So, right. but that's been huge. Do you understand? Like for agents to say, you called me and didn't even ask me for anything. You didn't tell me I have to move out of my office. You didn't say I owe an MLS fine. You just called to ask me how my family's doing. And that means the world. So I think you need to look at your current roster and try and improve your attrition by 5%. B, systemize contacting and communicating with your agents, not only when you bring them aboard with a follow-up system, but then when they're already on your roster and they're selling real estate. Do you know when they've taken their first listing? Do you know when they've had their first closing? We have a system where if somebody closes something over $20,000 in gross commissions on a check, they get a signed check from the leadership team saying, great job, congratulations. So there's these little natural points that we can actually, interject that a boy, great job, proud of you, I care about you. And it goes a long way. People just want to know that we care.
Someone said we went off air. Hey, is that true, Jake?
I'm still seeing you live on Facebook, but let me check.
Just want to make sure.
It might have just been that one person.
Oh, no, we're on. Justin Oliver texted me and said we went off air. We're still there, Justin. Maybe Justin should pay his Wi-Fi bill. No, I think we skipped. I think it did skip for a second, but we're back. Thanks, Justin. Appreciate that, buddy. So we are still live. Yeah, that's that. All of those things. And the thing is, like, it doesn't happen overnight. Like creating that system, right? Like, what did you guys have to go through?
So
where did you screw up creating that system? Really?
Yeah. So exactly right. So like, I don't know about here, but if there's any managers or leadership members watching this, when you get that text or that call that, a top team moved out over the weekend, or you lost that husband and wife capping team that were never an issue, and you would have dreamed to have 50 of them, right?
Right.
We started to realize that because we are a tech-enabled company and so many of our agents have already been operating without an office, right? That we need to create a market center that's thriving so it's worth the driving. So are we doing other events? Yeah, and are we touching our agents and inviting them to their different events? So I'll give you an example. This Thanksgiving, Lakeside's doing a Thanksgiving dinner giveaway to 5 client nominees that are a first responder, a veteran, or a teacher, as a thank you, as a give back to our agents' clients that have dealt with a crazy 2020, right? So that's another small way. It's not only is it something for us to call our agents and say, hey, this is what we're doing, but now they can turn around and that's going to help their business. They can grow their business by touching and doing the same care call to their clients. But yeah, we've made those mistakes. We've had people left off of lists for stuff. So you just start with what's one goal that we'd like to achieve this month? How can we improve our retention by 5 percentage points this month, this year over last year? Last year, we lost 7 agents. Is there a way that we can only lose 4 or less this month? What's something that we can do? Maybe we all start by making 1 call each a day. Well, that would be 5 Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. If I have 5 people doing those 5 calls, that's 25 touches in 1 week. Yeah. If you look back over your last 12 months, when's the last time you've proactively called 25 of your agents in 1 week?
Yeah, I would think that, especially, well, that leads me into, the pandemic, right? Like, I know that there's a lot of agents out there during the pandemic that haven't even heard from their brokerage, right? So, and someone has a question about attracting agents to your brokerage if you run an independent. We're going to get there in a second once we get into recruiting. I just want to wrap up retention. Jon, what did you guys do? Because you guys grew exponentially through the pandemic, right? That's what it seems like.
Yes.
So how did you... And I want to assume you didn't lose very many, because if you're growing, you still have, a good retention, right? And I'm sure some people left, but who knows? But I'm saying, like, what did you do during that pandemic? I know you probably went online a little bit more, but how did you ramp up making sure that everybody was okay, making sure everyone was still learning? What was the strategy there? Because it's probably a strategy that you guys are going to have to use for the foreseeable future, right? So how did you pivot?
So 2 or 3 things as a percentage. So first off, we are 25 agents larger today than we were in February. So if that gives you a perspective of, we pivoted and we kept growing. And by the way, that's with a team leader who just hit his 1 year with us and is doing an awesome job. And this month alone, we're gross 21. So,
dude, that's, first of all, I just want everyone to know, he's 25 agents. I mean, that doesn't mean that more agents didn't come in, but like some people, they don't get into it. Like they want to leave. Maybe they change careers. It isn't for them. So to gross those 25 and to net them, right? You net those 25 and then to gross 21. I mean, that's an enormous amount if you think about it. So, how did you maintain the retention through the pandemic?
Yeah, a couple things that we did, Nick. That's great. So again, I can't stress enough having a clear, concise communication plan when you're onboarding agents. The number one way to gain respect and to gain future referrals for business is to 100% have a world-class onboarding system where, for example, when myself, the team leader or assistant team leader closes a recruit, there's a system of events that begins where at this time, our assistant team leader working with our agent services, they get a text message introducing the recruit with them saying, at this point, you're in great hands. Please send your first name and email address, and all of your hiring documents will be sent to you to be completed electronically. Then we will schedule the hiring appointment. Like right there, just think about that for a second. That tells the recruit, that tells the agent, okay, this company has that going on. So if you're sitting here going, well, I still do paper and folders in a hiring appointment, and they see it for the first time when they sit with me, then you would ask yourself, what's one thing that you can do to, by the end of the year, start you moving into an electronic paperwork or electronic hiring position? Okay. Then as they're coming aboard and their license gets transferred and they're hired in, what are my next steps to succeed? We know that 70% of our agents succeed if they complete our steps to success within a year. 70%. So what I present to them in the first orientation is I say, listen, if somebody could tell you that you had a 7 out of 10 chance to succeed at something versus an industry average of 2 out of 10, 2 years from today, which one would you go with? And they always pick 7 out of 10. Like literally 11 out of 10 times they pick 7 out of 10. And so then I say, great. See that piece of paper right in front of you? It has literally all the steps to succeed at a high level. Do that.
I love that, dude, because especially if you have the statistics to back it up, right? You have the data to back it up, to show people, listen. And I love what you said before, like, if someone leaves your market center and some people might think, oh, well, that's like a big statement to make, right? If someone leaves your market center, they haven't done what you have been teaching them to do, just because that you have data like that. So
if somebody wants, I don't know, Nick, the best way, if somebody wants to follow up on that, if they want a resource, how would you like that to happen?
What do you mean?
Do you want them to email me directly? Do you want them to email a certain point and we can get the...
if you want to give out your email, that's totally up to you.
So my email is nick@lab.
No, it's not. I get enough emails. Well, at the end of the show, we'll give them a way to get in touch with you.
Yeah, my website. Right, we'll make it happen.
Yeah, Nicole Resnick, she has a question. John, she's like, John, I love this. Can you talk about the process for determining the steps to success and how long it took you to get that data?
Yeah, that's a great question, Nicole. So it took us about 2 years. And what we realized is that we were putting brand new agents into a class called Ignite. And Ignite works through things like finding and sourcing buyers, finding and showing homes, working your database, launching a listing, negotiating a deal, things of that nature. Great content, by the way. But Ignite is actually designed for agents doing less than 16 deals per year. And so what I realized is I would have some brokers in there who had done 10 to 12 deals a year, the last 2 or 3, and they were looking to get up to 20. And then I had brand new associates that were 2 weeks into the business that asked me what an email signature was. And so truth be told, we said, okay, we need to have a stepping stone into Ignite. We need to be able to say systemically, once you're through these core things, then you earn the right to sit and Ignite. And we offer Ignite regularly. So it's not like somebody has to wait 6 months for it, right? It's offered every month consistently. Yeah. So what we found, Nicole, is that if you haven't attended your listing and buyer work paper class and listed your own property for a broker or coach to review and make sure you did correctly. If you didn't submit that correctly with no issues or small issues, then you weren't ready to advance to the next part yet, because we haven't nailed this part of it, right? And if you can't read through a contract, how are you supposed to teach your clients about it? So that was kind of the first thing. The second thing was having our agents understand days on market, the market statistics, understanding square footage percentages, and how that all makes an impact on Sterling Heights versus Shelby Township. Those are different areas, even though they're only a mile from each other. So we do a lot of trainings with our local MLS on the market statistics and how to infuse those into your presentations. About 3 months into being a Lakeside agent, you've gone over the paperwork, you have your email signatures up to date, your business cards up to date, you understand the MLS tools, how to make a CMA and build those things out, right? So now you're ready for the true learning. When you understand the functional stuff, now you can apply it and use business strategies to actually grow and to scale. You start touring homes, previewing the market, virtually going and seeing. Another example, once you go through the basic, Nick, we have a new construction workshop class where one of my ALC members will take our new agents, we take them in pods of 10 to 12, and we actually go from completely vacant development land to studded out to white walled to specs. So literally our agents in 2 hours can be taken from A to Z, the overview, not every little nut and bolt, on what to look for in new construction. They meet one of my ALC members and they're able to see that process. So these are different things that we've built out, but it starts with the basics, guys. Understanding paperwork, understanding the legality, the agency side of it, and understanding that it's a contact sport. Get out and meet the people. Talk to them online, talk to them on social media, and pick up the phone. We encourage every agent to identify 2 top lead sources they want to pursue. What are the 2 you want to focus on? Your database and what? And so Hopefully that gives you some ideas of how we've built out these steps to success.
That's awesome, yeah, because people were asking like what's on it. So those are some great examples. So let's talk about recruiting. Everyone wants to grow, right?
You're dying.
Right, if you're not growing, exactly. If you're not growing, and by the way, let's start with this question. Why is the word recruiting why does it seem like a 4-letter word to so many people, right? It's like one of the oldest strategies. I mean, everyone recruits, right? Like I'm still getting recruited as regional tech trainer, right? Like every company is looking for talent, right? So why do you think it's got such a negative connotation, maybe in our industry specifically?
Yeah, so there's a couple of observations I have about that. Number one, in a typical industry, you have a set of people that are recruiting, right? You have a set of folks that are paid. They maybe are great at consulting, helping somebody break through and go from here to here. And it's like an honor to be recruited, right? It's like, wow, look at the offer they make me, the package. In real estate, it sort of has shifted into let's make a deal a little bit. And I'm not saying that there's not some validity in that. Life is changed. The industry is changing. That's going to continue.
For sure.
But what I will say is in real estate specifically, if I call it like recruit breath. So instead of like saying, hey, Nick, it's been a pleasure to like co-broke with you on this transaction. You are professional, you're communicative and solutions based. I just got to ask you, like, how many years have you been in the industry? It must be several. And you come back and say, it's been 5. And I go, my goodness, I'm just honored to be in partnership with you. Like, are you completely and 100% satisfied with where you currently are? In other words, Nick, have you hit your fullest potential in business? And if you were to hit your fullest potential, what would that look like? If I come at it that way and we actually talk about masterminding growing your business, and I don't immediately start saying, you got to move your license over to Lakeside, but I ask you, like, what's your goals? How do you plan to get there in 5 years? Are you happy with the wealth that you're building for your family and future generations? When's the last time you did take a look at other options that are there? Would you say you're a learning-based person or a smart businessman who always knows his plan B or C? Smart business owners know what other options they have, right? I think we've gotten away from a consultative approach on saying, is this a match? And it's instead, look at how much passive income you can make. Look at we're better because you can save yourself to wealth by saving $5,000 a year in cap. And so I'm being facetious a little bit, but the point I'm trying to drive home is that true recruiting is about, are we as a match and are you a match? And I think when you have an A-star recruiter, they attract other A players, and those A players want to be in business with other A's. It's about win-win or no deal. Are we a match for what we would like to do together? And I don't always see that in other brokerages or in certain people's approaches. And so the immediate thing is when you hear recruiter, you think of the last time you were recruited poorly. You think about the last time you were sold something. You think the last time you were told that you're missing out on the next opportunity of a lifetime. Instead of like, is there anything that we could cover today to move the needle forward in your business and make you consider looking at your options in real estate?
Well, that's a great point in the sense that there are 1.5 million realtors, right? And to the consumer, we don't have the greatest reputation, right? Because there are, and listen, you can get mad at me all you want. I'm talking to the agents watching. There are very few of them who treat their business like a business. And so unless you treat your business like a business, you don't have a clear-cut consumer experience. And so that person's going to get a bad taste in their mouth and in terms of working with realtors. So if we use recruiting, right, as a comparison, oh my gosh, there's so many times where I get a text or an email or a phone call. Hey, how would you like to make such and such more with this, that, and the other? And when I became a team leader, I had to quickly realize that it doesn't matter what the company offers. All that matters is if you have something that's going to help that person. Do you have what that person needs? Because what you offer doesn't matter unless you have what they need. And so I would then start off my conversations about them, taking mental notes and actual notes, and then say, based on what you told me, I think this is what we have, right? And so a lot of recruiters don't do that. They fail to focus on the actual person sitting right in front of them.
If you fundamentally wanted to change your approach as an office manager or recruiter, do this. And I'm going to give this away. This is it right here. When you are on the phone with somebody for the first time, ask them what's the single largest issue you're experiencing in your business and your plan to solve it, insert time frame by the end of the year, next 90 days, doesn't matter. Write down whatever they say and then say to them, would it make sense for us to meet and have a conversation about how we could solve that issue? Would it be helpful if I could put you in touch with 1 or 2 agents that I've helped solve that same problem with? Then the day before my appointment, and we set an appointment for Tuesday, right? Then the day before my appointment on Monday, I call them or text them if they don't answer. And I say, Nick, I'm confirming with you that the single largest thing we can experience or talk about tomorrow is this. This will move the needle forward in your business. Is that still correct? I can't wait to show you what I've prepared. Then when they sit down with you the next day, if you're back face-to-face for meetings, you are handing them some form of intake system. And one of the questions you're asking is, if we could only cover one thing today, what would that be to move the needle forward in your business? So if you're following along at home, 1, 2, 3 times you've asked them. And if you get 3 different options, start the meeting and by the way, that happens quite a bit. Start the meeting by saying, Nick, I'm so thrilled that we're sitting down and having a conversation today. Would it be all right with you, since this is one of the most important meetings I'm having, if I took notes? What I've noticed is you've said X, Y, and Z as the most important aspect of what we should cover today. So if we only can get to one, which would make the most sense? They look at you like you're listening to me. You're paying attention. You can do the same thing if they said the same. And you say, it appears to me 3 times you've told me, so I can't wait to explore this. Tell me a little bit more about how you come to the conclusion that this is the biggest issue you're facing. Does that help, Nick?
Yeah, I think it's great because, and I hope I pronounce his name wrong. Name right. I don't want to pronounce your name wrong. Sardul. He asked, what's the one thing an independent brokerage can do to attract agents to that brokerage? And I think you basically answered the question, because it's universal. But do you think that there is something else that an indie brokerage could potentially, right? Because listen, you have to have a value proposition, you have to have the right culture. So what could somebody who's not like a Remax or a Coldwell Banker or a KW, what would be your advice for them?
Well, I think what we're seeing with what Zillow's doing and some other companies, a meaningful path to technology that allows us to get in front of the client at a higher level sooner is critical. And so we've been told for years that Boomtown or Brivity, and there's a ton of great partners, by the way, ton of great CRM. So this isn't about one being better than the other. What it is about is this. If I'm an indie broker, I'm thinking, what's my meaningful path to technology that I have control of the cost on? It's that simple. Meaningful path to technology to increase my relationship with the consumer that I have control or influence of the cost on. And if you think about it, there's not many options there. There's set options that you have to pay an amount no matter what, no matter the yield back. And if you could find a meaningful path to technology that allows you to compete with Zillow and create a moat around what you're doing with your database, your past clients, and the different people.
Hold on a second. Tell people what that means, creating a moat, because I know what it means and you do, but some people might not understand that.
So if you think about a moat around a castle, right, the whole idea of moats being existed is they would have a drawbridge in place on purpose to allow people in that they wanted to and keep people out that they didn't. So when we say about creating a moat around your database or around your sphere, what it's saying is right now you have 500 people that think of you when they think of real estate, the repeat, the referrals, they give you business. If tomorrow those same 500 people got an advertisement from Zillow for 1% listings on their next process, how many of them would still stay aligned with you because you give such a great experience, you give such a world-class customer service that they're like, nope, it doesn't matter. I'm getting the value that I need from Nick Baldwin. So I'm sticking with Nick Baldwin. That's the idea of building a moat. It's protecting who's there. And unfortunately, if you're not utilizing or embracing meaningful technology, what I mean by meaningful is that you have a control of the process. You can cater it and make it fit to your business and stay in front of your clientele at the level that you desire to do that. If you don't have a meaningful path to do that, the next 5 years are going to look a lot different for you. So I think independent brokers are struggling. They have the whiteboard, they have the Post-it notes, and they're struggling with how can I replicate this system without paying $2,000 a month just to have access to a platform. That's my number one thing is I think technology and the use of it and the embracing of it, that attracts indies to an opportunity to merge or roll in.
Well, so the thing is like, KW has tech, then now Remax is rolling out tech, Compass has tech. So like the real estate brokerage tech, while it's kind of been there in one way, shape, or form, now it's getting really competitive, right? And so it's one of the main things that agents who want to make a switch or want to join, they want to see what the technology does and looks like, and they want to see if it compares to something that they would have to spend $1,500 a month on.
Right.
And so, regardless of whether or not you have an agent who's, a little older and they're, old school, going back to basics, or a new, 20 something, right? There's still tech for anybody. There is tech for sending out handwritten cards, right? So like,
right, exactly.
There's tech for literally putting pen to paper so you don't have to do it. So there's tech for everyone. So you're saying that's got to be in your value proposition because it's right there front and center.
100%. Stefan Swanepoel does reports every year through T360 and the T3 Summit. And I had the honor and privilege of going last year that the top managers, broker owners across the country are invited across any type. There's usually 400 to 600 top brokers there. And the short of it is this: the meaningful path to technology has to be a part of your value proposition as a broker. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you need to throw away everything you've been doing. You need to look at partnering with the right options in your local area that offer you that technology access. and assist. And here's a great question to ask yourself. If you're paying for leads right now through a technology partnership, ask yourself this question. Over the last 36 months, has the cost to the access of those leads gone up, stayed flat, or become cheaper? And then ask yourself, has your return on those leads gone up, been flat, or has it decreased? And what you'll find every single time is if you don't have a meaningful path to tech and it's just something you've purchased as a partnership, the cost of leads has gone up and your ROI has gone down. Now the question becomes, do you see that happening in the next 36 months? Is it going to improve or get worse? I'm doubling down that it's only going to get worse if you are outsourcing that third-party technique. Does that make sense, Nick? Does this resonate?
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah, totally understand. So let's hit on one final thing. So the actual act of recruiting, right? So the actual act of forming relationships with agents outside your company. So you look at an indie, right? Maybe they have 15, 20 agents. Maybe they're fine with how they are, right? Maybe they don't want to grow anymore, but you guys are always looking for talent. So what does that look like on a day-to-day basis? Like how do you get really purposeful about how much you want to grow and how many appointments and how many people you want to get in front of and how many relationships you need to nurture? Like, what does the system like that look like?
Yeah, so there's two levels of agents that you target, right? You target unlicensed or new to the business, and you target producing agents that are already turning business, right? So the two things to think about is, one, how can I maximize the same types of questions I'm going to get over here? How to get licensed? What does it cost? How many hours? What's my requirement? What can I systemize? So instead of doing it one-on-one, I might be able to get one staff member sitting in front of 3, 4, 5, a room of 10. So you want to think about, where can I get hours back by maximizing my time with that? Number two, if you look at producing agents or a new agent, when you get them to succeed, you know how much that person is worth to a brokerage. That's called a cap, right? So when we're setting our goals and we know that we want to grow our profit share to our agents by 20%, we know exactly how much profit share that we need to hit to do that. So we know exactly how much cap dollar or company dollar we need to make that happen. So this is where the importance of monitoring expenses comes into play, and understanding that strategic growth through agent count will yield a conversion rate of X number of dollars, which will then turn into profit share for our agent. So for at Lakeside, we've profit shared nearly $450,000 this year during a pandemic. Whoa. So you got to ask yourself, is the profit sharing system working? Is it not? Well, I think it's working when you follow it and you run it at a high level. 3 years ago, we profit shared $200,000 the entire year.
So you're saying you've profit shared almost $500,000 year to date
in 10 months versus $200,000 in 12 months 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
But it comes down to you. What you said, Nick, is perfect. How many agents a month are we looking to get into partnership with that we know that we can train, develop, and take them to the next level? I don't care if you're a $5 million producer looking to grow to 15, or if you've done 0 deals and you want to do 10 in your first year. We have a plan for you. And if you want to link up, bootstraps up, link arms, and get to work, we're here to partner and do that with you. And so start by looking at your expenses, look at your fixed costs, look at what your cost of sales may look like, and then say to yourself, what do I need to do to break even each month by the 15th? And then from the 15th to the end of the month, I'm now in profitability mode. And profit's not a bad thing, folks. Profit allows us to invest back into our agents, allows us to invest back into our infrastructure, and build out other opportunities for the folks that we're in business and partnership with. If you think about your own real estate business, right? As an agent, you want to make a profit. Right. So it's the same thing at a brokerage level. A profitable business allows me to invest and to make opportunity for other folks and to continue to expand. Because truth be told, you're either growing or dying. There's no just complacent. So that's why we choose to grow.
There is one question to back up a little bit to the tech. Juanita Taylor, she asked, how can you give an example of a meaningful path to tech?
I can. So when I say meaningful path, he who controls the lead controls the business. So right now, do homework on CRMs that you're exploring and figure out who their parent company truly is. Again, this is not a knock on any one thing. And I want to respect LabCoatAgents because this is a community of us together. Sure. But I want you to really understand there are certain CRMs that through shell companies and backdoor are owned by Zillow.
Right.
Can you with 100% confidence say that your data, when you put into that CRM, is not going into Zillow's hands?
Well, listen to this. So like, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but I was talking to one of our top agents in our region, and they're using the Zillow CRM. I mean, they're using the CRM inside Zillow. Like, I don't even understand that at all.
Yeah. So what I mean by a meaningful path to tech is that you can with 100% certainty know that the technology is not being given out to people like Zillow. I'm sorry, I'm not a fan of Zillow. I understand why they're here, and I understand we've let them get to where they are.
Right.
But I've been in rooms and I've heard it's not what I choose to build our brokerage off of.
There was also another example of an agent I was talking to who using Dotloop, and Zillow owns Dotloop, and they sent a price reduction form through Dotloop to their client. Before their client even signed it, the price had been reduced on Zillow.
Yep.
You think Zillow's not reading your contracts through Dotloop? You are sorely mistaken.
Well, just look what they've said since day one. We have no intention to own a mortgage company. And then what do? Within 5 years, they go out and they buy a mortgage company. They have a venture now with mortgages. We have no desire to become a brokerage. What are they doing now? They're hiring realtors. Like, I don't understand what else we need to see. But anyways, the key is incubating folks.
Jon, we could just go in this direction.
Yeah, I'm not even going to go there. I'm not even going to go. The writing's on the wall. The writing's on the wall.
No, for sure.
Meaningful path to tech is being able to work with your database, work with your clients from the moment, instead of waiting until May when the seller to be clicks on, a property and says, I want to know more info, because they said back at Christmas, our house is too small and our family's getting bigger and we want to have Christmas at a bigger house next year. The moment you can know that, because they go to your app and that you get notified, that's when the funnel starts, right? And unfortunately, we're getting them when they're like good leads.
Right. Exactly. And, some things I hear a lot are, we can't compete with those big companies that pour $1 billion into marketing, but you can on a very local level.
You can.
Right? You can on a very local level. And luckily last year, 2019, 90% of people that transacted with a purchase or a sale used a real estate agent, which is the most real estate agents have ever been used ever before. And also, if you want to really create a client for life, I remember Gary showed a slide at Mega Camp a year or so ago that $0 are being invested into post-close technology. So after the transaction, just pour into your people, keep in touch, client calls, care calls, appreciation, be the person that forms that relationship. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say to your point. So agents, if you're listening, what would it look like in 2021 if you had 18 touches post-close that kept you in front of your past clients? What would that look like on social media, phone, texting, email, etc.? And managers, owners, brokers, what would it look like if you could offer that?
There you go. That's a perfect example of meaningful path to tech. Jon, thank you so much. We could talk about this forever. I just want everyone to know that Jon has an awesome podcast called Forward Focused. If you go to getforwardfocused.com, that's the website. I posted it in the chat. I posted it on Facebook, getforwardfocused.com. Real quick, what do you talk about on that podcast while you have 2 minutes?
Thank you, Nick. I so appreciate that. And by the way, if anyone wants more information, if you subscribe to that and email me, I'll get you any resources that you need through that website, okay? My assistant can manage and go through that, and it'll be organized. On Get Forward Focused, it's very simple, folks. I was looking around as a 30-year-old leader, entrepreneur, business owner, and I didn't see folks talking at a national level to 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds looking to aspire and grow their businesses. So my tagline is, be the leader you wished you'd had. And you will learn different approaches, different things to consider in running a successful business, to having great team bonding, communication, camaraderie, to be able to focus on some of the soft skills that you can develop to maximize the success through others. One of my favorite leadership quotes is, if you want to go far, go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. This is all about running a better business and organization for those around you. We have flashcasts, which are very quick, 10 minutes or less snippets that you can listen to in the shower on the way to work. Longer podcasts are between 20 and 30 minutes. It's just me talking about a deep diving into material. And then interviews that are 40 to 50 minutes with business leaders across all walks of business, not just real estate. I'd be so honored for your support. And Nick, thank you so much for this opportunity.
No problem. And I am actually jumping on a call at 3:00 with Sean, your team leader, for a technology recruiting appointment. See that we're leveraging each other out. And
Nick, here's one quote. You're joining us next month for a recording of Get Forward Focus. So
yes, and I'm actually gonna. Yes, I was asked to be a guest on Forward Focus, so that's really. John asked me at his own risk, clearly. But that'll be fun. And I'm about to jump on with Sean, who's your team leader, to show off our technology. But anyway, this has been awesome. GetForwardFocus.com. Big thanks to John. Thank you for jumping on. This has been awesome. And I'm Nick Baldwin from LabCoatAgents, and we will see you next time. Have a great day, everyone. See ya.